What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I know we've been on a little bit of a break. I've had just a ton of stuff I've been trying to get done around the house now that we've got some nice weather, but I've now pretty much got it all straightened out, got everything I want to done. I actually put up a trampoline for the kids, we put up a small kids pool, I put an awning out in the back of our house, just a ton of stuff, planted flower beds, so I've been really busy the last week. Sorry I missed out on doing videos for you guys, but I hope you understand I've literally been working like all day, other than like 2 days since the last upload, just working on the house here. So gotta take priority sometimes in life and do the things you really need to instead of the things you'd like to. Anyways though guys, we are going to be in Assetto Corsa today, and as you can see on screen, we are going to be jumping in Adam LZ's cream S13. Beautiful car. I've actually drove a couple different mod versions of this car, but I've never tried this one. I want to say, going from memory, it's like Crime Serve is the mod pack, like CRYM. We'll see once we get back out. It's a weird name though, and I really like the way these cars drive. I'm not the biggest fan of the sounds, and something seems kind of off on like how his R32 Skyline revs. You guys will see that later because we're actually going to take that car out as well. And if you look at the rear of the car, it almost looks like the rear tires are cambered in a little bit. It could just be because there's so much camber on the front wheels, it kind of looks like it, but honestly it really does look like it's kind of angled in a little bit. I will say it drives very well. It seems a little strange, like it definitely doesn't drive like the WDT cars or any of the other mod cars I've really drove, although it does have a realistic, like real life style feel to it. It's just not really what I was expecting from this car. It's definitely more understeery than I would expect a car from Adam LZ to be, especially with how much he tries to keep his cars like really gripped up and just make them as fast as he can in drift. Anyways though, we're going to be going in Drift Playground. We're just going to do some laps, and I want to test these cars out for you guys. I will bring up the specs on this real quick just so you guys can see what kind of power it puts down. So we're looking at 452 wheel horsepower, 528 Newton meters of torque, which I believe is actually pretty close to what his car really does put out in real life, so it is staying pretty accurate. The model is extremely well done. Like, they just absolutely knocked it out of the park on how, if I can get it to stay up, there we go, detailed this thing actually is. I'm sure you guys can see in the showroom there too. I didn't go inside the car, but you can really just see the amount of detail, even down to the push bar or the bash bars in the front of the car. And it's like that in all the cars in this pack. I will show you the R32 right now before we actually get it out on track, just so I can get all the introduction stuff knocked out all at once, and later we can just do nothing but driving. Alright, so moving on to his R32 here, you can see, like I said in the last one, the models are extremely well done. They've put a really, really large amount of work in just trying to get the details right on these mods. And I gotta say, they really knocked it out of the park. This looks almost exactly like Adam LZ's R32, which I gotta say, his R32 is probably my favorite R32 in existence. I love the four-door cars, and everything that he did to it as far as the styling is probably close to what I would do if I was able to get my hands on one too. The Cream S13 doesn't sound too bad, but it doesn't sound the greatest at Redline either. Definitely doesn't sound like Adam's S13. Or 180SX, but I believe actually because this is left-hand drive, it's actually considered an S13. But here in the States, we would call it a 180. Gotta get warmed up a little bit here. I don't know why my real head motion freaks out whenever I'm recording. With all my practice, it was perfectly fine. I don't know if I'm actually getting like a little bit of lag on frame rendering on screen. Could be an issue too, because I have the encoder set in OBS for recording. Just really bizarre, and it does make it kind of hard to drift, honestly, when your screen's kind of just juddering all over the place. A little too close to the rail there. riding the guardrail right there. Sorry I'm being quiet, guys. I'm just trying to like actually shut up and focus a little bit more on what I'm doing, especially with like the frame skips I'm seeing here, the jitters in my screen. It's really hard to actually drive very well with it doing that. So as you can see, as I was saying, like in some corners it just understeers really bad when you wouldn't really expect it to, which could be setup related. This is the default setup. I didn't mess with it at all. It does drive very well, I gotta say, for not really changing anything. Although there are some things I would definitely change, understeer being one of the biggest ones, and I feel like second gear is just a little short for the kind of power this car has. As you saw, we were able to grab third and keep the tires spinning up pretty easy. And it does just tend to rev out second really fast, but at the same time, a lot of these corners are so sharp for third gear, like so tight, that you can't really get away with third gear on some of the corners. Does respond really well to left foot braking. I gotta say the handbrake feels really nice in this too. Like some cars it's way too aggressive and just really slows you down, which it should shed some speed, but like some cars you like almost have to avoid using the handbrake other than like certain specific parts of a track, just because you'll lose way too much speed if you give like a decent little handbrake drag and you can't carry the momentum. That was all me. Completely mistimed my pedal work. So you can see what I'm saying right there. It's able to pull in third gear, but once we get to this corner, we bog down too much and I just cannot keep the wheels spinning up. Which you could probably get around that a little bit, playing around with tire pressures, but I like the grip level in the back where it's at right now. I just want that second gear a little bit longer for this track. Should have just stuck with second there. I was trying to see if I could get a little bit more speed to really carry us around the edge in that corner. I gotta say, with the amount of grip this thing has, you can flick it into a drift really hard. And as long as you have the speed to carry it through the corner, you can get some pretty insane angle in this thing. Too much throttle. Started picking up angle really fast and I did not want to. You gotta kind of have like a little bit of a delay in that corner to actually hit it right and carry a decent line through the corner. did it again. Alright, well, we got a couple laps in. I think you guys get a pretty good idea what I was saying about, like, the cars after a certain point of throttle, just like, you may as well just be flat out. Like, it doesn't matter, it seems like, almost. And I don't know if that's just something about how the mod is done, the gearing. So like I said, I haven't played around with the setup really at all. But that part of driving these is a little frustrating. As far as the physics go, though, and the tire model, I feel like they're extremely well done. The cars have very, very good force feedback and self-steer as well. Around center, they kind of feel a little dead. They feel a little mushy, I want to say, is the best way to describe it. Like, I recently gave the, I need to stop trying to drift while I'm trying to talk to you guys as well. We'll jump in the pits. I tried out the Death Wish Garage Pack recently as well, and those cars have some of the best feeling, like, force feedback in the wheel I've had in Assetto Corsa. Like, it's super tight, really responsive, and you can really just feel everything the car is doing. Whereas this is great once you're actually moving and you're not, like, at center. At center, it's kind of mushy. And I don't want to say it feels dead, but it just gets really light at center, which I find kind of weird because I haven't had that issue in any mods I've really tried lately in Assetto Corsa. It's something that normally you only see in cars that have like a really soft suspension setup in this game. Alright guys, so we did get our few laps out in the S13. Now we're going to switch over to the R32, and I did forget to show you guys the power numbers, so we'll go ahead and do that really fast. We're looking at 578 horsepower, 617 newton meters in torque, which, if you guys keep up with Adam LZ, you know now that this car's putting out like 700 horsepower. They did quite a bit of stuff just to kind of bring it up to spec, and they actually used the turbo off his A90 Supra, since he's trying to take that back to kind of a streetable daily driver, and threw it on it, and it's just making a ton of power now. Like I said, this sounds great, don't get me wrong, it's really great as far as the engine sound, until you get to like 2/3 of the rev range, and then it just starts to sound like a vacuum cleaner in my opinion, and you can't really like differentiate how high you are in the revs after like 7,000. Yeah, about 7,000. Like, literally, that sounds like a vacuum cleaner running. Tell me that does not sound like a really obnoxious vacuum cleaner at full throttle. That's not really the point of this, though. We want to see how this thing drives. Once again, this is the stock setup. I've actually been mostly driving this thing with the gear ratio retuned a little bit and changing the tire pressure in the back because the rear seems just obnoxiously gripped up. You can see, like, the gearing is just not quite right in this thing either. The third gear, it just struggles to be able to build enough power, which is kind of insane considering it puts out the kind of power it does in this mod. And I just cannot get over how awful the RB sounds at full throttle. Like, that is not a wide open RB limiter sound. It also seems like it has like just a ridiculous amount of angle, even if like the car had WiseFab. It seems like this is just a little obnoxious as far as the angle of the car, which it could be that really long wheelbase too, and just how long of a car it is adds to it. It makes it feel like it has more angle than it actually does just because of the length of the car, and it's able to come back pretty easily from a really extreme angle. Combined with like the extreme amount of grip this car has in the rear tires, I feel like that might make it feel like it has more angle than it does, just because it makes the car a little easier to recover from like really, really deep angle drifts. I do gotta say though, it definitely feels a lot different than the S13. So far out of this pack, all the cars I drove feel quite a bit different from each other, especially if they're like just drastically different style cars, like in terms of like track width, wheelbase, or just power levels. You can really tell a difference. None of them feel the same, which is always nice. You don't want to ever feel like the physics are just being recycled in every car in a pack that you're trying out. I was thinking about giving the S15 a try in today's video as well, but since I'm doing this at Drift Playground just because it's a really good test track for drift cars, just because there's so much elevation change and so much like differentiation between the corners, it really just pushes you and the car to see what it's actually capable of. And that was absolute garbage through there. If you guys have never actually really tried it, try to focus on drifting and like having an in-depth conversation with yourself at the same time. It's honestly a little hard to do and really easy to get lost on what you're doing or where you're at on the track. Guys like Jimmy Broadbent really blow my mind with how well they can communicate while they're driving, and it doesn't seem to really make them drive any worse or take away from their focus on what they're doing. Really don't know how he's as good at doing it as he is, but I guess just all the practice, because if you watch his old videos, he did struggle a decent amount talking while driving. He was a lot quieter than he is now, and just really shy compared to the guy he's turned into. Oh, I was gonna say, we're definitely clipping that guardrail. This car is so long. It's so easy just to go a little too deep and clip that tail end on something. If you guys look down here in my app, you can actually watch my throttle pedal and see a lot of times I'm at like 3/4 throttle and I'm not really moving that fast, but it sounds like the motor is just bouncing limiter, and it's just really bizarre to me. I don't understand why it's the way, or like I've never drove any other drift mods that really do what this pack has done in all the cars I've tried, as far as like once the engine hits the limiter or gets even near limiter. Little handbrake drag to save us from the guardrail. I gotta say, if it wasn't for the engine sounds and just the way the cars respond to throttle inputs at some points, this would probably be close to one of my favorite drift car packs. It feels really good. It drives very predictably. The issue I have, like I said, is just that audio cues are really hard to pick up on, and you gotta really focus on what your foot's doing and not so much on what the car sounds like. Like, that's half throttle. We're going 27 miles an hour in second gear, and it sounds like we were just banging limiter with our vacuum cleaner at that. I love the way the turbo sounds in this, but you like cannot hear the engine over it, and the engine just sounds like a Hoover vacuum. And let's just be real for a minute. Once again though, as far as the driving part of the car, it drives amazing. Like, once again, this guy did an amazing job. I know he compiled the physics from other people, and other people helped him work on these mods. You can read about all that in the descriptions of the cars, which I forgot to mention, but I will leave links in the description to the cars and also the track if by some chance you already don't have Drift Playground. I feel like if you're into drifting, it's kind of a necessity to get this track early on. It's really popular online. Like I said, it's one of the best tracks in my opinion, just to test new mod packs out and see how they can like handle in terms of just basically everything. The only thing this track really doesn't have is like really high speed corners. boy, I don't know how I managed to get through that. Completely ruined our line for all the other corners coming after it, but somehow managed to hold on to it. Oh, just about put the front of the Skyline into the guardrail. Well guys, I think this is a good place to end the video off. I really hope you enjoyed it. Definitely give this pack a try if you don't already have it. There's a lot of like drift packs I've been coming across I've never really heard of before, and even after doing like a little search, there's not like a lot of YouTube videos or anything even done on them. And I feel like a lot of them deserve way more recognition than what they have, and way more people using them. Like the Death Wish garage cars. Those things drive so well, they look amazing, they have a lot of style to them, they don't really like look like any other cars from any other packs. But I've never really seen them ran other than like 1 or 2 lobbies online, and once again, it's just another great pack that really should be like out there more, and more people should be driving it, but you just don't see it or really hear about it. There's another one called the Gaia Streetcar Pack, which I'll be doing another video on the Death Wish Garage and that Gaia Streetcar Pack sometime through this week. I'm not sure exactly when it'll come out, because I don't want to just do drift pack after drift pack video all week long. I'm sure it get a little boring for you guys. But I do have some new mods I picked up that I'm going to be trying out. I actually found a really good, actually it's a Google Docs that has literally like every drift car and drift track you can get on Assetto Corsa in it. So I'm going to be doing a lot of videos on these over the next few weeks, just new packs I've never tried before and new cars. So definitely subscribe guys so you can check all that out and keep up to date, and maybe you guys will find something you haven't heard about either. Anyways guys, if you did make it this far into the video, I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting that like button down below, commenting and subscribing. It really does help the channel out. You can also check out the merch store down below in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next one.